Hello everyone, welcome to this week's video from the Purple Penny. My name's Mark. I own and run the Purple Penny along with my wife Catherine, who is out there doing other things at the moment. We're in Mawson Lakes and we've been here for 3.5 years or so, and we deal mostly in Australian coins, some world coins and that sort of thing, but mostly Australian coins. We've held these videos every Monday for the last few years. We had a week off a few weeks ago, but we're back at it again. We are hoping to hold these for the rest of the year on Mondays. But of course, we will be shut between Christmas and New Year, which means that we won't be here on the Monday following Christmas. So perhaps we'll have one of these videos held from home. Oh, just excuse me for a second. So the week in the shop last week was quite normal. We were busy on some days and quiet on other days. There was a fair bit of buying and a fair bit of selling as usual. The Royal Australian Mint has gone very quiet. I believe that all their releases now are on hold for the next couple of months at least. So that means that whatever was released was supposed to be released in December has obviously been put on hold, and I believe that the Mintmark sets for the 1st of January are also on hold for some reason, and I guess there's some degree of relief with that because November was insane with the poppy, of course, which shall not be mentioned. So we are sort of enjoying the quiet time for the Mint just to be able to catch up with things. Before we get started today, we've done show and tell the last couple of weeks. I thought I would just do a little bit more show and tell today. So these are, and I'll just cover that up there. There we go there. This is a petrol ration ticket from around World War II, an Australian petrol ration ticket. So basically many resources were rationed during World War II and the time afterwards, and households would get allocated a certain number of these tickets for certain resources, whether it be food or clothing, or in this case petrol, and they could use those tickets to be able to purchase the amount of petrol that was shown on the front of the ticket. So this one here, for example, is a 1 gallon ticket, with 1 gallon being about 3.8 litres. And this one has been redeemed because redeemed petrol ration tickets are signed on the back with a driver's licence number. So this was redeemed by LR Pickering. The same gentleman redeemed 3 gallons of fuel here. So we've got 3 tickets, 6 gallons of fuel I should say. We've got 3 2-gallon tickets, and if you look at the back of those, they have all been signed by the same gentleman. Interestingly, and I haven't seen this too often, we have an unredeemed 2-gallon ticket here, which isn't signed on the back. Now, these little petrol ration tickets or motor spirit tickets, you do see them from time to time. We probably see them 4 or 5 times a year. The first time I've seen an unredeemed one, and you don't often see them in groups like this one here with the three 2-gallon tickets in one group. So they're interesting little bits of ephemera, just worth a couple of bucks each. And I guess an interesting look back into a time where resources were limited for a very good reason. And as I said, it wasn't just during the war, they were also limited after the war for several years. And that same sort of situation happened in many countries through Europe, not just Australia, during and after the Second World War. Right, let's jump to the news. 2023 Mintmark sets are on hold, according to the RAM. The reasons are unclear, but they are on hold, so there won't be a Mintmark dollar released on the 1st of January. It will come a little bit later. We hope. We have 2023 mint and proof sets coming at the end of January and more coming in February. So again, if you are chasing one of those sets, please don't pay over release price unless you need one before Christmas. I believe they're still available on the Mint's website, so you can still get them from there. In the news this week, the Royal Canadian Mint is releasing a special coin commemorating the life of the Queen, who of course passed away in September. It's a mourning coin, I guess, so we can just pop up a little picture of that for you. So it's their regular design toonie, which is a $2 coin with the portrait there of the Queen by Susanna Blunt. That's a portrait that is used on Canadian coins currently, polar bear on the reverse there. So this coin has an aluminium bronze centre and a steel ring. And interestingly, what they've done with the steel ring is that they've actually nickel plated them to give that sort of black finish that you can see there. They're being released in circulation, initially about 5 million of them being released, but there may well be more depending on demand for coinage in Canada. Now, really pretty coin. Catherine said it looked a bit like the ACDC coin. It'll be interesting to see how that nickel plating stands up to circulation, because it's not paint, it's not black paint, it is actually a surface treatment to the steel to give it that black colour, and a really interesting way that the Royal Canadian Mint in Ottawa is decided to commemorate the life of the Queen. I don't know whether the Royal Australian Mint wants to think about something like that, but yeah, I think that's a really interesting and thoughtful release for the Royal Canadian Mint. In Des Moines, I believe is in Iowa, in the USA, interestingly, a couple of weeks ago, someone donated a 1 ounce gold maple leaf into the local Salvation Army donation tin. So a 1 ounce gold coin was found in the Salvation Army donation tin. That's pretty remarkable, and it got publicised in the news. But funnily enough, just in the last few days, the salvos in Des Moines, Iowa actually got a phone call warning them that another 1 ounce gold coin would be put into their donation tin. And sure enough, a 1 ounce gold kangaroo was put into the Salvation's donation tin. And that same anonymous person rang them up and asked them if they'd received the coin to make sure that it had actually been received. So was it the same person that donated both coins? Well, both of them were in capsules and both of them were in good condition and 2 weeks apart. Perhaps it was the same person. The person didn't ring up for the first coin donation, but they certainly did for the second one. So that's a lazy $5,200 worth of gold that someone has donated to the local salvo. So whoever that was, kudos to them. If you're wondering what the salvos do with it, they sell the coins and use the money for their local activities. We've certainly never had the salvos bring any gold coins into us. We have had the salvos come and sell stuff to us before, but not any gold coins. They brought in some foreign coins and I think some badges once from the Salvation Army store not far from here. Back to the news. King Charles II 50 pence coins have entered circulation into England. We had someone come in and show us one last week. It was not a circulation coin, it was one that they'd bought from the Royal Mint website. The coins, we'll just pop up a picture of them. The coins are going to be entering circulation via the usual means, but the Royal Mint has also decided to distribute them via post offices. So about half of the minted coins are being distributed through post offices. I guess similar to what the Royal Australian Mint is doing with donation dollars at the moment, trying to get them out through News Express stores. There's about 10 million going to be put into circulation and they'll be released as demand for coinage requires those to be released, and about half of those going out through the post office. The portrait of the king there was sculpted by Martin Jennings, and the reverse of the coin uses the same design as the Queen's 1953 coronation crown. So I did talk about this a few weeks ago, but it is nice to actually see that that coin is out and about. And as I said, we saw one this week. Someone brought one in to show us, and the king doesn't look too bad. It's not a bad looking coin. So kudos to the Royal Mint for getting that out so quickly. Right. The metal detectorists in Rhode Island, which is a state in the northeast of England, of the USA, found these 4 coins just recently. They've got Arabic inscriptions there. They were identified by Stephen Album, who is the owner of Stephen Album Rare Coins, as coins from Yemen, the area of Yemen, and they were minted in about 1690 or 1693. None of them any later than 1695. And these 4 coins join a group of about another 20 coins of similar origins that have been found in and around Rhode Island in the northeast of the USA. Now, this is a really fascinating bit of history here. People are thinking that this is evidence of the landing of Henry Avery, who was a very famous pirate from the late 1600s, most famous for probably what is known as the single most profitable pirate raid in history. He raided in the Indian Ocean a fleet that was travelling from India to Mecca for the annual Muslim pilgrimage, and he raided a treasure ship in that fleet and gathered somewhere between 200 and 600,000 pounds worth of treasure in that sort of money back then, which today is conservatively estimated at being worth $200 million or more. What really made this notorious was that Henry Avery's ships that raided that particular Mughal vessel murdered and molested many of the passengers over a period of many days, and it caused such an outrage that King William III actually issued what is believed to be the first worldwide warrant for the arrest of this pirate Henry Avery. Now, Henry Avery and some of his ships fled to the Caribbean with their treasure, and after then they are lost track of. The history has lost what has happened to them. One theory is that they fled from the West Indies to the northeast of America around Rhode Island, and then from that point on it's not known what happened to them. Perhaps they settled in the northeast of America, perhaps they went back to the UK, perhaps they went to Ireland. It's not really sure. There is paperwork to support the idea that Henry Avery and his men did land in and around Rhode Island in about 1698 or so, and these coins that have been found in and around that area do marry up with the same sorts of coins that would have been on that Indian fleet that the pirates raided in 1695. So, quite a remarkable thing to be found, and quite a remarkable tie-in to, I guess, a fairly notorious piece of history from the late 1600s. So, coins attributed to Henry Avery, who is a very famous pirate. Right, now we're going to have competition this week, and this is open to viewers of this video on Facebook and also viewers of the video on YouTube afterwards. And basically all we need you to do is comment on this video on Facebook, or if you're watching it later on YouTube, just comment on the video on YouTube. And if you can comment before 5 p.m. this Friday, Adelaide time, before 5 p.m. this Friday, which would be the 17th of December, then 17th, 16th of December, if you can comment before 16th, Friday the 16th by 5 p.m. Adelaide time, just comment. It doesn't matter what you say, just leave a comment. I will gather up all of those names of people who have commented on this video and the one on YouTube, put them into a random number generator, and I'll choose someone to win this lovely Canadian silver coin. We'll just pop up a picture of that. There it is there. That's a Canadian $5 coin. It's a Remembrance Day coin. It's got roses, 3 poppies on one side, sorry, not roses, 3 poppies on one side, and then that very same portrait of the Queen that we saw on the morning dollar on the other side. You do need to be in Australia. I don't want to mail this overseas, so if you are watching, please do only comment if you are in Australia, but it is open to everyone who comments before this Friday at 5 p.m. Adelaide time. Matt says, very generous. Well, we're only covering the postage, Matt. We had a customer actually give this to us and suggest we use it as a donation, so we're going to go ahead and do what that customer asked us. He also asked to remain anonymous, but thank you to that particular customer for being so generous and allowing us to give this away. As I said, if you are watching on Facebook or on YouTube afterwards, please just leave a comment. I'll gather up all the names of those people who have left a comment, and I'll pick someone at random, and this will be mailed out to them. Just need to comment before Friday the 16th of December, before 5 p.m. Adelaide time. All right, so good luck to everyone who has a go at that. And as I said, just comment. It doesn't matter what the comment is, just say whatever you like. Right, topic of the week is one that was suggested by someone who contacted me a few days ago. Last week I did put a bit of a call out for subject ideas. There were a couple that were really good, one of which I can't really do here in the shop, so we may end up doing it from our house in between Christmas and New Year. But the one that someone did ask about was just looking at the origins of pounds, shillings and pence. Where did pounds, shillings and pence come from? Of course, Australia, we are in Australia, so we'll talk about that. Australia used the pound, shillings and pence system from when Europeans first settled here until decimal changeover in 1966. And if you don't know anything about pounds, shillings and pence, basically there were, here in Australia, there were half pennies, threepences, sixpences, shillings and florins and crowns, half sovereigns and sovereigns. There were 12 pennies to the shilling, 20 shillings to the pound. A sovereign was a pound and a half sovereign was half a pound, so therefore 10 shillings. All seems like quite random numbers. The florin was initially created as a sort of a half-hearted attempt at decimalisation, so 10 florins to the pound. But those other numbers, 12 pennies to the shilling and 20 shillings to the pound, they actually date back to the Romans. Now, they don't date back directly to anything that the Romans did. The pound, shillings and pence system is believed to have developed over several hundred years in Europe and in England. But we'll just pop up a slide here so that you can just see the sorts of things that we're talking about here. So the base of the pre-decimal system is that you have 12 pennies to the shilling, 240 pennies to the pound. Now, if you know a little bit about pounds, shillings and pence, you'll know that the abbreviation for a penny is D. So a threepence, the abbreviation is 3D. For a shilling, for a sixpence, the abbreviation is 6D. How does D come from penny? Of course, it goes back to Roman times, where a denarius was effectively a penny, and a denarius was a fraction of a pound of silver. And funnily enough, a pound in Latin is libra, and that capital L is what gives the pound symbol today. If you know what a pound symbol looks like, you can see it there on the slide. It's actually an uppercase Roman L. So the pound goes back to the Roman pound of silver, which is called a libra. Now the shilling, this one's a little bit more vague. Goes back to either the solidus, and the solidus was a gold coin, or perhaps it actually dates to later than that, from the later part of the first millennium, 600 or 700 AD, where a denomination actually made its way over from Europe to England called the skilling. Either way, the abbreviation shilling comes from a solidus or from the skilling. So that's where the shilling came from. And this is one that I learnt today. I didn't know this one, that the farthing, and those of you who might know what a farthing is a fourth of a penny. There's 4 farthings to a penny. So a farthing is a corruption of fourthing, 4 parts of a penny. Farthings used to be abbreviated QUA. Now, I didn't know that, and it turns out that QUA is an abbreviation for quadrans, and quadrans is another Roman coin, and the quadrans was a quarter of an ass, A-S, not arse, quarter of an ass. So a farthing used to be abbreviated QUA, and that comes from quadrands. Now there is actually another abbreviation for halfpenny, but I ran out of space, so we will do that another day, I hope. But let's actually just have a look at some of the coins that we're talking about here. So the first one being a denarius. So we'll pop up a picture of a denarius here. So we have a denarius there, which is a denarius of depicting Domitian as Caesar under Vespasian. So this was struck of a picture of Domitian, who now Paul is probably watching here. He'll correct me, Paul Spink, if he's watching, but I believe that Domitian was the son of Vespasian, and these coins were struck in anticipation of Domitian becoming the emperor. So this is a little tiny silver coin, 3.3 grams from 76 AD. So one of these pennies, a denarius, which is a penny, there were 72 of these for the Romans at least, 72 of these to a Roman pound. Now, those numbers don't marry up exactly to what our pounds, shillings and pence system became, but you can see how the pound, shillings and pence did descend from this Roman system. And it is important to understand that the Roman system changed many times through the history of the Roman Empire. As the empire got older, they tended to debase the coinage, and by debase I mean remove the silver or remove the gold, or revalue the silver and revalue the gold to make it less valuable. Inflation also, as the empire got older, it became less able to mint the money that it needed because of economic problems. If you're wondering how big that coin is, I'll just show you one here, because we will actually be listing up a few denarius on our website in the next couple of days. This is a denarius here. You can just see how small that is. It's about the same size as a 5-cent piece, about 3.5 grams of silver. That, I know you can't see that, but that's a little denarius of Geta, who was a Roman emperor. So quite a small coin. Now, the other abbreviation of shilling that I wanted to talk about comes from either solidus or skilling. Now, this just shows you how long this system was developed from. The solidus was a gold coin that wasn't introduced until about 300 AD, so quite a long while after that denarius that I showed you there, so 225 years after that denarius I showed you. So this is a solidus of Arcadius, 4.4 grams, 400 AD, and it's gold. So perhaps the S for shilling derived from this. Perhaps it derived from the European currency called the skilling. We'll probably never know for certain, but certainly the S doesn't stand for shilling. It stands for something else. And the last one, again, which was really quite an interesting fact that I learned this morning. I do love learning this sort of stuff. Is that the farthing, which is a quarter of a penny, used to be abbreviated QUA, and the QUA comes from quadrands. And this is a little quadrands here. 3.2 grams of bronze, and it is 1/4 of an as. And an as is a less known coin. I can't remember exactly what fraction of a denarius was, but I just find it really interesting that that quarter of a farthing uses the same name as this particular coin here as an abbreviation, even though the values weren't exactly, they didn't exactly correspond. So, the QUA was just to represent the 1/4, even though the quarter of a farthing, of course, is not quarter of an as. So, interesting things there about how the pound, shillings and pence system came about, how we got those particular names. It all goes back to Roman weights and measures, and then Roman coins from certain periods of the empire. Now, it's important to understand a lot of these coins didn't exist at the same time, so it was clearly a system that developed in Europe over hundreds of years. And if you do go and look at the history of coinage in places like Denmark and Sweden and places like that, they did actually use a very similar system for a long time, with 12 of a smaller denomination being one of a larger denomination. So really interesting bits of history there. Next week we're going to talk about dollar symbols and the name of the dollar and where that particular thing came from. Really stuff that interests me a lot. Now that's it for today. Just remember that competition. You could win this if you comment by 5 p.m. Adelaide time this Friday, which is the 16th of December. Only if you're in Australia though, please. And it doesn't matter if you're commenting on Facebook or on YouTube. Please do comment on both. Excuse me. Please do comment on both. I will draw someone at random and Catherine will mail that out to you. Now, I haven't said hello to anyone today in the comments. Apologies for that. Please have a great week. Happy collecting. Stay safe. And back next week. Bye for now.